Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Happiness Chat. Let me set the right tone for our chat today by sharing some awesome quotes. Just as we develop our physical muscles by lifting weights, we develop our character muscles by overcoming challenges and adversity, said Stephen Covey. The very beautiful Angelina Jolie says, I do believe in the old saying, what does not kill you makes you stronger. Our experiences, good and bad, make us who we are. By overcoming difficulties, we gain strength and maturity. And this one is my favorite. It's a part of life to have obstacles. It's about overcoming obstacles. That's the key to happiness. Life is full of challenges, and none of us is exempt. Those who seek their own happiness tend to overcome such challenges and improve their life situations. Though our individual life situation is very different, yet there are some common situations that create sufferings for many of us. Those could be in the form of a troubled childhood, health issues, financial crisis, a bad marriage, and so on. Our guest speaker today is one such brave survivor. She looks like anything but a fighter, but she's fought huge obstacles and survived and is now thriving. A very warm welcome to Anna Marie Lopes. It's great to have you over for the Happiness Chat today, Anna.
Hi, Shilpa. Thanks so much for having me. It's such a joy to be here. And we've known each other for close to 20 years through my mom. And she told me about your story of life and death. And it was truly, truly inspiring.
Actually, I have to tell you, Anna, that your mom, Liza, is one of the nicest persons I know. So let's jump into your story. A person's life is greatly affected by his or her childhood. So tell us something about your childhood.
So for me, I grew up as an only child. And, I grew up in Dubai. And I'd say that from the looks of it, growing up in Dubai is so much more different from growing up elsewhere, for example, in India. We were in a situation where we weren't really surrounded by extended family. And being that way, I ended up growing as a very quiet and timid child. A lot of people say that today as well, that Anna, you are a quiet person in general. And I'd say that also we did have certain hardships, growing up as a family that really did impact me in very unexpected ways.
Very true. Actually, they say that our childhood and our formative years leave such a stamp on our life and they influence everything that we do later on. So, do you think that you rushed into marriage at the very young age of 18 just as an escape from your existing situation?
I definitely think I did so. It was a situation where I was a young teenage girl, and as many of us when we are teenagers, we're just looking for that way of escape, from our current situation, our current hardships. And I think I found myself in that situation very much where I was starting to feel a lot of fear and had a lot of loneliness creeping in, which is what really put me in a situation where I felt like I needed a sense of happiness, a sense of belonging. And that is something that definitely got me or motivated me to get married at such a young age.
Many times we rush into decisions as an escape route in the hope that our life will get better. So I think that's what happened with you.
I think so too, definitely.
Yes. So do you think in our Indian culture, the girls have pressure to stay in a marriage and adjust even if the situation is hopeless?
Very much. I think a lot of what happens, in the Indian society, whether it's in a public space or whether it's in a private space, it's dominated so much by culture, by religious beliefs, by society and what society thinks. There's also a sense of, patriarchy, and there is a system in place where I feel that, especially when it comes to a woman, even if she's unhappy in her marriage, or even if she has been violated in any way, she's expected to make it work. She's expected to adjust, to sort of see things through. And in a way, this is unfair for a woman, because she has the right to a life of happiness, to a companionship where she is equally respected. And it's definitely time that mindsets change, that the system changes, and that women are given a chance to really have the resources and find a way out of that suffering if they find themselves in such a situation.
Absolutely. I so agree with you. This mindset indeed is so sad. And I hope that with the increasing awareness, education, and even penalties, women in our society will be protected and respected.
That's true.
So, you told me you even tried to commit suicide. So, in those dark days, what kept you motivated?
You know, thinking about those days, where I really wanted to end my life, those are very painful, dark days. And that was a time where I was really going through mental abuse, physical abuse, and even experienced sexual violence, at the hands of my ex-husband. And I was extremely afraid for my life. I was in a position where I was completely isolated, isolated from my family, isolated from my friends. I didn't even have the key to my own house. And I was even in a position where all of my movements on digital media was being monitored. And it really felt as if I was a prisoner of sorts. And that really put me in a situation where I felt helpless, I felt afraid, and I thought that the only way to put an end to the pain was to end my life. But, I would say that it was God, or as some may call it, a greater force, that really said, this is not the end of your story. And there was this glimmer of hope that kept coming up through those troubled times, that told me that, you know, there will come a day when you will see yourself out of this situation through some miraculous way. And I had faith in that possibility. And I think that faith and that glimmer of hope is what pushed me through and helped me move on.
So, right, they call it the light at the end of a dark tunnel. And I am so glad that you kept that light burning. Really, bravo. I mean, it gives me goosebumps just hearing about the ordeal that you went through. So, what did your days in Delhi when you were completely on your own teach you?
So Delhi was an adventure for me. I'd never been to Delhi before, and so at first I was extremely terrified of being there, and I thought to myself, how am I going to get through this? Because I'd gone there with practically nothing, just my passport in hand, and very few basic necessities. And so being there, it really taught me one thing that's so important, and that is that it's the simple things in life that make you happy and that really matters. Because being in Delhi is where I learned to really take care of myself, really, sustain on my own, And it was where I worked my first job. It was where I opened my first bank account. So it was a place of many firsts. And it was extremely terrifying, but it was extremely liberating. And it was also there where I really met with what I would say strangers turned family. And that's where I really rediscovered the goodness of people once again. You know, through those trials and tribulations, you kind of meet with people who you least expect, and they really sow into your life in ways that the people you know don't. And that's what really taught, Delhi really taught me, being on my own, that um, there is a place out there where you can depend on people, where there is a safe space for you, and that rebuilding your life is possible again.
Very, very well said. In fact, they say adversity is actually the best teacher. You know, life teaches us so much. We
Yes.
just have to be willing to learn. Okay. So, I mean, deception in love can make us distrusting. I mean, that's a very obvious outcome. But renouncing love would also mean giving up on all the wonderful things that it brings. It's good to know that you did not become bitter in spite of your terrible first marriage. So tell us, how difficult was it to trust someone again?
Oh my, it was really difficult. Once you've gone through that trauma of abuse and of a bad marriage, you automatically become distrusting. It becomes second nature to you. And there were many times where I was extremely hyper vigilant. I'd be very doubtful. I'd wonder if this person had something against me, or if history was going to repeat itself. But I did overcome that. And it was only because of this teamwork, that I would say, between me and my partner, where there was a lot of assurance, there was a lot of reassurance, there was a lot of love, and understanding for where I was coming from, that really, really helped in overcoming that.
Sure. Difficult, you're so right, but I guess with the right person, we can overcome our fears and apprehensions. So, very happy to know that now you are happily married, you're back in Dubai, and having been there, done that, what advice would you give to young girls and their parents?
To young girls, I'd definitely say two things, and that is, one, never settle, never settle for less. And two is to always trust your gut instinct. That is something that I wish I had done back in the day, because I did have that gut feeling. I did have that intuition that what I was walking into was not going to be the best for me. But I ignored that feeling, that gut feeling that I had. And I realized today that so often we're looking for answers, and those answers are right within us. And I always say never settle, because when we are running away from a situation, we tend to run into the future with this wrong motive. And when we do that, we tend to compromise, and we say to ourselves that in order to get away from this situation or this hardship, I'm willing to compromise this, or I'm willing to put up with this. And that shouldn't be the mindset. That is something that we should never ever discount. So that is something that I would definitely say to young women, that never settle, and always go into your future with the right motivation. And of course, when it comes to parents, I think parents don't realize sometimes how important they are to their children. Especially when it comes to daughters, especially being Indians and coming from an Indian community, um, when it comes to family, I think that is something that I would say is a pillar of strength for a daughter, for a girl child. And even if, you know, at some point of time they get married or they move forward into whatever path that they've chosen, it's so important for parents to be open-minded and to still be there for them and to still say, you know, if you need to come back home, the doors are open. I think that is something that um, I'd love for every parent to hear and know.
Absolutely, so right. I think a daughter is a daughter all her life, and parents should remember that just because she gets married, it doesn't mean that she has to put up with everything that happens there, everything bad that happens in her marital home. And I think for the girls, your message is so powerful to stand up for your rights, don't give in, because giving in only makes the oppressor more bold.
That's right.
And I think, especially in our Indian culture, this message needs to be really loud and clear. So, the year 2020 is an unprecedented one. It's a tough one to say the least. You've dealt with huge challenges in your life. So, what would you like to tell people on how to deal with challenges?
I'd say that the best way, in my experience, to deal with challenges is to do it with in three words, and that is to never give up. It's so important to just have that mindset of never giving up, irrespective of challenges. And I mean, life in general is full of challenges. Some have it easy, some don't, some have it worse. But come what may, to have that mindset where you say to yourself, you know, I'm going to get through this one day at a time, is really important. And it's really important to take it one day at a time, to sometimes even take it 1 hour or 1 minute at a time. Because when we are faced with challenges, looking at the bigger picture can seem so overwhelming. And I feel the best way to deal with the situation at that time is to just take a breather and just take it one day at a time and just not give up.
Wonderful. In fact, I heard some mountaineers say that when they are climbing, they only look at the next step.
Mhm.
They don't look at the big mountain in front because that is just too daunting. You know, it
Yes.
gives you the shivers. You might lose your courage. So their instructions are just look at the next step and then the next step and keep moving on. So what you said right now about living day by day or hour by hour, if that's what's required. And I think it's such a lovely message that you just said about never giving up. And I think people just need to look around and see, because there's so many who are fighting a battle, who have fought and who continue to fight a battle every day, that then your own obstacles seem less daunting.
Mhm.
So, especially in this COVID world, you know, where everyone's talking about that this problem, that problem, I think we need to share stories like yours, you know, which will show people that, you know, there are much bigger problems in life. So, appreciate what you have and look at the people around you who are fighting and they don't give up. So there is no question of us, other people with much smaller problems, talking about getting depressed. You know, so that would really be my message to everybody around. So this is a happiness chat. So tell us, what does happiness mean to you?
Happiness to me, the first word that comes to my mind when I think of happiness is freedom. You know, freedom to be who I am, to live the life that I love, surrounded by the people that I love. It's also looking back and looking at how far I've come, looking at, you know, all the things that I've overcome, and knowing that I've come this far despite thinking that I couldn't have made it at all. So that's what happiness is to me.
You said it so beautifully, Anna, because how can one be happy if one is caged? Freedom in its fullest sense is just so essential to be happy. Thank you very much, Anna, for sharing your story, how you fought such major challenges in your life and never gave up hope. Your story will inspire many girls to stand up for their rights and to fight for the dignity of life. You truly prove that it is in overcoming obstacles that lies the key to happiness. It has been such a learning experience for me and for our viewers who will be seeing this chat. It was just so nice having you over.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. It was such a pleasure being here, and thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.
I would just want to say a final quote as a tribute to your fighting spirit. Believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. So until we meet again, be happy, be safe. Thank you.